The bow is one of the most fun weapons to use in Monster Hunter because of the versatility of playstyle that it offers to you. You can decide on whether you're going to be using close range or actually high range, building towards your Dragon Piercer and things like that. In today's video, we're going to be building an elemental bow, and our elemental bow is going to be focused on one specific playstyle. At the very least, for what I'm showing you, it works best on this playstyle right here. It's going to be somewhat of a shotgun playstyle, and I very much love the shotgun playstyle that the bow has in this iteration of Monster Hunter because of the iframes that you have on your dodges and because of how much versatility you have whenever you're dodging attacks. So yes, this is a bow that is not going to be using range. It's always going to be on the face of the enemy that is going to deal tremendous amounts of damage, whilst at the same time having such high survivability because of how much survivability you have because of how much you can dodge. So right into it, going into the armor, it is going to be the same armor for your elemental builds. Remember that there's slight variations out there because a lot of people like to run with 3 levels of coalescence depending on your needs and depending on the weapon that you have. I like to use the basic elemental armor set because it allows me to have the 5 levels into weakness exploit that I'm going to have with this build, and that is going to nullify some of the weapons that we're going to be discussing later on. But for general purposes, like always, the Arc Vulcan Male Beta, the G Guardian Arc Veil Van Races, the Arc Vulcan Coil Beta, and then the Gore Greaves Beta or Helm Beta. That's going to give you 5 levels into weakness exploit. It's also going to give you the coalescence right in here, evade window, which is somewhat useful for us. That's something that you can also be slotting in here. And then finally in here we're going to have antivirus. Now let's talk about the weapons. When it comes to monster weapons, fortunately enough, in here we have a whole bunch of very cool weapons because the weapons for the bow are actually kind of amazing when it comes to the skills that they have. There's a couple of weapons like on the glaive video that we talked about that like focus and things like that are not useful for our build. Here they are, but ultimately our Artian Weapon is going to have some things different. However, if you're not, this is not going to be useful to you because this is not an elemental, but this also has critical elements, so we're not going to be using this one. This one has Tetra Shot. This is stuff that it should be avoiding like plague. On top of this not being elemental, the Tetra Shot, what it's going to do is that it's going to increase the affinity and the attack on the 4th and the 6th arrow that you shoot. Ideally, you're only going to get like that extra slight boost on your damage because when it comes to affinity, we're building that towards our build. We are doing so much stuff to cap our affinity that is a wasted material point in that we have right there because of the weakness exploit, because of the frenzy, because of the antivirus, because of the eclipse. We have nearly 100% of affinity more often than not most of the time, so this is useless. Avoid this like plague. And then we have the this is actually very useful. However, the special ammo boost, well, focus is going to be useful. We'll talk about that in a little while. But the special ammo boost, this is for the playstyle that is going to be focusing on using Dragon Piercer. This is not a build for Dragon Piercer, so this is not something that you're going to be able to use. However, this is a very good weapon. It has high raw damage and pretty mediocre elements, but you do have focus. This is going to be very useful to you because focus is going to allow you to charge up that much faster your vials and your shots, your arrows, your coatings, your coated arrows, and also your tracer arrows. So focus is very useful in here. So this is very useful. This is a very good bow. This is even better because it has more damage, it has less affinity, but we are countering that right there. And it also looks amazing. Like this gets extra points because of how cool it looks. This is very useful because of the focus. We have focus in here and airborne. This is for eyes. This is very good weapon, the Jindad weapon. And then we have focus with attack. This is not an elemental weapon, so we're not going to take advantage of this right here. This has high elements and high raw damage, but it has Tetra Shot, which, like I mentioned, we're not going to be using that much. Strangely enough, Rathian being one of my favorite weapons, on Rathian and Rathalos being usually my favorite weapons, the Rathian is not going to be that amazing. It has fire and it has Tetra Shot. It has poison duration up and it doesn't have poison. So yeah, it's a bummer right in here. However, the Rathalos, I'd say that this is the best, quite literally the best of the fire weapons that you are going to have right in here. It has already native critical boost, meaning that you can slot something more useful on those extra slots that we have right in there, because we're always using critical boost as a main. So this is very, very good to have. The Gold Magala, no, it has critical elements, so we stay away from that like a plague. And then we have Tetra Shot in here. We have critical element in here. We don't want that. So yeah, those are like the overall idea of what you want to have in your monster weapon before you actually start crafting a Artian weapon. Now have in mind that an Artian weapon is always going to be best than anything that you have right in here. Because when it comes to raw stats, actual raw stats, one of the best weapons, without taking away that critical element, one of the best weapons are always going to be Go Magala. Go Magala are very good weapons. It has very good attack, it has very good affinity, it has very good, well, it has poor elements, but as you can see, in general, it's a very balanced weapon in every single trait that you have right there. So you have 252, 20% and 150 elemental attack. Now, if we actually take a look at the weapons that have the highest elements and that they have low affinity because they have a high element, it would be something like this one right here that reaches 200 elements. We also have this one right here. This is the highest one. It has very low damage, it has 0 affinity, and it has 300 when it comes to elements. A decent Artian weapon, and I want to stress out decent because this is not ideal, this is not the best weapon. As a matter of fact, I'll show you in a little while why it isn't. You will see that it has mild damage, it has very good affinity, but it also has even much more elements. It has nearly double the elements, or it has double the elements than the basic weapons, and it has even more elements than the weapons that have negative affinity and very low damage because of that trade-off. So this is very, very, very good. However, like I mentioned, this is not the ideal Artian weapon. This is just something that this is the best thing that I could come up with. Like, the RNG is not being that amazing with me, but I do have 3 elemental boosts right in here, so that's very, very useful. Ideally, you would want to have 4 element boost when it comes to your Artian weapon. Then the final one, either attack or affinity, it's just going to be fine. My advice is for you to have affinity, just so that you can actually have 100% of affinity all the time. Now, like I mentioned, your build is going to be dependent on one specific skill that you are going to be allocating into your weapon. First and foremost, the general rule of thumb that you're going to have with your weapon when it comes to the skills actually is going to be 1 elemental level 3 for the desired something that you're using. So if you're using ice, dragon, thunder, and things like that, just have the elemental jewel, the specific elemental jewel plus 3 in here, which is going to increase your elements by quite a lot. And then we're going to have critical boost, which is going to increase our damage quite a lot as well. Now in here, you're going to change depending, again, if you want to be focusing your build into the piercing dragon piercer or the shotgun build that I have right in here. I am using the spread power shots, and it is a jewel, a level 3 jewel, which is going to increase the damage of your coatings and your quick shots of your B attacks. And that is the build that I'm using right in here. I'm going to leave you with the hunt so that you can see the potential, but that is something that you can mix back and forth. If on the other hand you want to have something that it's focused on Dragon Piercer and also focus on having a little bit more distance between you and the enemy, you should be having ballistics. I have 1 ballistics in here that comes from my fire jewel, but it's not needed. Like, you don't need it on this build. Other than that, you are going to need 3 chain jewels alongside with the chain talisman for the burst level 5, 1 Phoenix Jewel to increase our coalescence right in there, and 2 Saint Jewels to have the antivirus in level 3. And I cannot stress enough, this is not a concession, this is not something that you're going to be able to change. It's something that you could change on different builds But here we want to have Constitution at level 5 at all times, and that is a must, because remember that the coatings, the fact that you have coatings, the fact that you have the tracking arrows, it's because of you dodging properly and you learning how to fight the monsters, so that you know when do you have to dodge, how do you have to dodge, because that is going to fill out your meter. And the more that you can dodge, that's going to be all the better. Anyways, like I mentioned, I am going to leave you with a little bit of a hunt in here. I am adopting the shotgun playstyle, and as you are going to be able to see, it is somewhat very safe to use, provided that you are acquainted with the monster that you are fighting. And by all means, you're not going to be spamming at all times. So of course, if you're very good and you know like all of the intricacies that the monster has, which you're fighting against, then yes, you can be attacking like a maniac. But more often than not, also be mindful of when is the monster going to attack, because you want to manage those perfect dodges to increase your tracking arrows and also your coatings. You want to manage that very well. If you like the content, like and diversity, appreciate it. Nostalgia that you're a gorgeous, beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful, beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel. Join the Discord. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.